Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from across different time zones. Thank you for being here today for our retail webinar focusing on Gen AI and fashion industry. We truly appreciate your time and we hope you are having a fantastic day till now. Today, we are excited to explore a dynamic topic which is AI in aesthetics, how Gen AI is reshaping the fashion industry. It promises to be an engaging and insightful session, and we are thrilled to have such a great audience here with us. So let me begin by introducing myself and AI CoreSpot as a company to all of you. My name is Nitin Navi, and I serve as the Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at AI CoreSpot. With nearly a couple of decades of experience working with different consulting firms on different emerging technologies, I'm fortunate to have worked alongside global leaders, stakeholders, and there's some truly innovative projects as well. I'm also joined today by my colleagues Arvind and Naveen. Naveen is in the back end, so a big applause to them for their dedication and the energy they have brought to organizing this event. A quick word about AI CoreSpot to all of you. It was founded around 4 years ago now. Our company serves as a knowledge hub for areas like AI, Gen AI, machine learning, robotics, IoT, and much more. Through our webinars, we aim to keep you updated on the latest technological advancements across varied in the tech sectors with fresh monthly themes and growing momentum every day. Our vision is to become the leading global AI-driven community, a place where professionals like yourself can grow together and share success. We are committed to delivering industry-backed webinars, hybrid events, in-person events, which is built upon credible insights from distinguished industry leaders, subject matter experts, and all our trusted partners, which includes InfoVision and Digit7 as well. In addition to events, we curate content across blogs, podcasts, videos, newsletters, which makes it easy for all of you to stay informed about today's fast evolving tech landscape. For today's session, which is AI in aesthetics, as I said in the beginning, how Gen AI is reshaping the fashion industry, our speakers will deep dive into some of the key topics, which includes industry use cases, AI adoption, the culture, how is it changing, the ethical consideration because AI is going on in full swing nowadays, future prospects, and the emerging innovations which are there in the coming few months. We are confident that the insights, discussions, and ideas you will hear today will spark some new thinking and drive the value out of the work which you all guys are doing. A special thanks to our community partners for today, which includes Procter & Gamble, Finish Line, and InfoVision for their essential role in making this webinar possible. And of course, a heartfelt thank to all our attendees. Your presence is invaluable. Our platform is built to help you gather insights, connect with peers, and turn inspiration into the action. If you leave with new ideas or have some strong connections through our channel, we'll consider it our job well done. Now, let me introduce our esteemed panel of speakers for today. We have three great people. So first of all, I'd like to make Rebecca as one of the first speaker. She's Senior Director, Oral Care Materials Process and Delivery from Procter & Gamble. Then we have Tamara. She is Infrastructure Director at Finish Line. And third speaker and moderator for today's session is Jaydev, who is Director in Retail at InfoVision. Just a brief disclaimer before we get started. The views shared by our speakers are their personal ones and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their respective organizations. Thank you again for being here, and let's get started. With that, I'll hand over to you, Jaydev, to kick off this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Nitin. And I'm really excited to have this conversation today. I've been part of some of the other panel conversations over the last few months, but this one is really resonating with me. And this one is something that I'm really excited to talk about. It's about AI in aesthetics, right? We've seen Gen AI and we've seen the adoption of Gen AI over the last few years that has completely revolutionized a lot of industries, including fashion industry, right? But again, the idea is not new, as we were saying, right? Back in 1985, there was a movie that came out. It was Back to the Future, and there were a lot of innovative concepts that were discussed around that movie and how they were envisioning within 30 years the world would move ahead and what are the different trends we would see within not only the technology space, but also in the retail space. There were so many concepts. They had shoes which would automatically fit your legs, and they had hoverboards. I'm still salty that we don't have the flying hoverboards yet, but then hey, we're getting there, right? And they had so many different apparels that they had predicted. A lot of them came true. A lot of them I see potential coming true with the advancements we are seeing in AI, right? So it was an apt time to kind of discuss what are the different trends we are seeing in AI and aesthetics, and who better to talk this with besides the panelists that I have on here today. We have Tamara from JD Finish Line, and we have Rebecca from PNG, who can share some of the insights on what are the trends they are seeing, not only within the organizations that they're working at, but also generally in the industry. And also kind of, while we discuss the use cases that we are seeing in the industry, we would also like to kind of understand what are the advancements that we are seeing, what are the repercussions, what are the challenges that we are seeing in the adoptions as well, right? So really excited to have this panel discussion. But before we really deep dive into it, I would hand it over to Tamara to kind of give a quick introduction about herself, and then over to Rebecca. So Tamara, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me today. Hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Mash. I'm Director of Infrastructure at JD Finish Line. We are a leading retailer of athletic footwear and apparel. We have both physical and digital platform presence across the US. And as you can imagine, we are strongly focused on innovation and customer experience, and we heavily use technology, including AI insights, to kind of make sure that our customers get this seamless shopping experience. I'm excited today to talk about how AI is reshaping retail, from inventory optimization to personalized shopping experiences, and discuss maybe some of the practical steps for a successful AI integration. So thank you for having me. Rebecca?
Thank you so much, Tamara. Really appreciate you having you here. Rebecca, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Gulaskey, and I'm a senior director in oral care at Procter & Gamble, where I lead a blended organization of R&D and engineering to deliver innovation and improve the lives of our employees and our consumers. And our aspiration at P&G is to shape the business informed by digital capabilities that drive the growth of the business. And I am also very excited to be here today. We'll talk about some use cases inside the company and in my personal life. And we'll talk about some of the barriers to adoption as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Excited to hear that from you as well, Rebecca. So let's get this started. And before we start, just kind of like, again, our topic is AI and aesthetics and how GenAI is reshaping the fashion industry. But we may probably explore beyond GenAI how other aspects within artificial intelligence is impacting the industry in general, right? So when it comes to GenAI specifically, GenAI is generative AI, and the way we see it is from the realm of you can either generate text that makes conversations happen. You can generate voices which can help modulate what the conversations is. It kind of gives the feeling that there's a real person we are talking to. You can generate images which can help from an overall marketing standpoint, creating the artifacts that is needed from a product marketing standpoint. Or you can generate videos, where we are kind of making huge progress over the last few years. Now it's super difficult to identify the real from the artificial. There was this saying that over the years, AI has been evolving so much that sooner or later we may not be able to distinguish between the videos, right? So sky's the limit when it comes to innovations. But I wanted to ask you all, what are the most significant ways you've seen GenAI currently reshaping the fashion landscape? Can you provide some real life examples of what you've seen working within your industry or in general in the market? I'll start with you, Tamara.
Yeah, I would probably say predictive analytics, right? Using AI, tracking social media, search engine to kind of come up with what's next, what's the trend, and that would help the buyers in terms of making their decisions. Another thing, kind of a little bit of what you had said, like using prompt to generate an image. So traditionally, as you can imagine, every style, every color needs to be photographed. That photo needs to be retouched. and then processed and sent to our digital platforms. Imagine that being just through a prompt generation, right? Context generation, that's another thing also. So we're talking about how can we get the product to market sooner using AI. And the other thing also is smarter marketing, right? Personalized marketing, that's huge. And one thing, for instance, that some brands are using, like Louis Vuitton, they're using that for brand protection, right? Using AI to detect counterfeit, which is huge in the retail industry as well. So these are some of the things that I'm seeing where AI is being used.
Yeah, that's a really interesting use case you brought up, like identifying counterfeiting, kind of protecting the brand using the power of AI. I've seen similar use cases in the industry where it's not identifying counterfeiting, but it's also identifying kind of defects within the product line and making sure the product that we're shipping is up to the mark, and making sure it represents the brand value that we aspire for, right? So Rebecca, if you want to add something to this.
Absolutely. We've actually developed an entire suite of GenAI tools that are helping talent across the whole company streamline their work and speedline decision times. And it enhances their ability to create and test more customized offerings for consumers and faster. Another example is that our customer service reps have started to use AI as a way to streamline the amount of research needed to address consumer questions and concerns. And this use case has actually delivered a 30% effort savings and has reduced response time by several weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, 30% savings is phenomenal. I've seen similar use cases across industries where it is enabling the customer service representatives with the right data points at the right time when they're having those conversations with the customer, right? Now we've seen examples in where some of the related industries where if the customer walks in, and it ties to what Tamara had also mentioned with the next best action, like the moment customer comes in, based on the customer history, we can give predictive analytical support to the customer representative. These were the conversations he had in the past. This is the most likely conversation he might want to have with you. And this arms our customer service representatives with the right data points so that they can service the customers better, right? So there's definitely a lot of value that AI can bring to the platform. But at the same time, there are a lot of challenges as well, especially in the aesthetic ecosystem, especially in the fashion industry, right? So because it's a creative field, and there might be challenges in the adoption of AI. So wanted to check with you, Rebecca, what are the biggest barriers on AI journey that you may have seen, especially in the aesthetic driven product innovation space?
Sure. I see that the perception of time constraints has been one of the biggest barriers we've worked to overcome. Busy employees might view the learning curve as not worth the effort in the short term. And we have overcome this by encouraging the early adopters in the organization to experiment with AI tools. And then we broadly recognize their success by sharing their stories and celebrating their wins and their learnings. These success stories build a big excitement across the organization, and it helps move the skeptics into enthusiastic followers. I know that as a user of AI, I adopt it more when I can see the value and I can see how I'm able to deliver my work plan or my team's work plan faster. So we're committed at P&G to fostering a culture where innovation thrives. We invite ideas from all over the world, from all corners of the business, and we support these test pilots and the test and learns in order to make sure that we're collaborating well on the use cases and really celebrating them.
Yeah, that is a great one. One thing that you brought up was the time constraint around the adoption, right? So how do you prioritize AI adoption despite the common we don't have enough time constraint to get everything done? What trade-offs or structural changes have helped bring things together?
We are committed to upskilling the organization with the digital tools they need to streamline their work, get rid of the mundane work, and focus on more creative, more rewarding work. At P&G, people are our most important asset. And as we build the skills of the organization, we're building a culture where digital innovation thrives. One specific example, and consistent with our commitment to upskill the organization, we have partnered with the Harvard Business School on a study of the effects of AI in our day-to-day work.
Oh, that's an interesting space. Tamara, if you'd like to add anything to this.
Yeah, so in addition to what Rebecca had said, I would like to say that we need to think of AI not as just as a technology upgrade, but really as a business transformation strategy. So once we think of it that way, there's a shift in prioritization, right? And I think any project or any initiative that we need to take on a high level would be either to increase efficiency or increase revenue, right? Or generate revenue in general. So with that in mind, I would suggest 5 questions to ask. Will AI solve my problem better than my current solution, right? Or is this just a cool toy now because AI is the best thing to do? And that's kind of will determine really the success of the project. And I also ask, is the implementation worth the cost? And when we're talking about cost, it's not just the cost of the agent, whether building it or buying it, but it's the cost of training the employees, cost of data ingestion, infrastructure costs, running costs. There's a lot of hidden costs that are associated with AI that we need to make sure that we're talking about upfront. Number 4 is, and something Rebecca kind of talked about, is the team trained to support AI solution? Right? Because we want to make sure that this solution is sustainable. And what does the adoption journey looks like? Do we have enough governance? Do we have enough process around it to make sure that it is successful? Those are some of the things that I would probably consider.
This is actually a very good checklist whenever we're embarking on any AI journey. This checklist kind of helps us put the checks and balances in place before we really start on the journey. But as you rightly pointed out, one of the risks we have is when we start on any new venture, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know whether it would really bring the output that we're looking for, or whether it, I mean, there are risks we take whenever we venture on any new journey, right? So with that, how do you manage the risk between adopting early, like being an early adopter in a new technology trend, and being left behind versus being left behind, just following the trend that has already been established in the market, versus investing prematurely into an unproven Gen AI tool? So what are the risks? What are the trade-offs that we may have to take here?
That's a great question. Go back to a few years ago, right? When it was all about augmented reality, all about metaverse, and everybody wanted to jump on that bandwagon. Now, looking a few years down the line, we have really very few success stories, right? So that kind of makes us a little bit cautious in terms of, do we jump on AI or not? So I'm going to go back to, what is the business case? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And is AI the right solution for it? And I think that would help make a decision, because if AI is significantly a better solution, then it's a no-brainer. The other thing is that also companies sometimes jump into the AI pool and kind of pick as many business cases as possible. I would recommend pick 2 or 3, right? Make sure that you're focusing on these low-hanging fruits, for instance. I read a study not too long ago that said businesses who focus on 3 AI initiatives are twice as much to succeed as those who do 6 at the same time. So this is where less is more type of a thing. So I think focusing on something tangible and something that is achievable would probably be the way to go.
Absolutely. So it's like you should rather focus on going deep versus going broad when you're starting off with AI journey. Identify the use cases that really resonate, and then go deep into that. I totally agree with you. In fact, I liked you bringing up metaverse. I still have some virtual property on there, so which I have to go and check out after this conversation. So, but yeah, Rebecca, anything you'd like to add to this?
Tamara said it very well. We ensure that when we are utilizing AI, it's going to make a positive impact on either the customer experience, it's going to drive business growth, or improve the lives of our employees or our consumers. AI is a tool. It is a tool to enable your growth strategy in your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you all bring up a very interesting point, which I wanted to focus on. One of the things you mentioned, Tamara, was, and something that Rebecca also brought up in the previous conversation, was we need to invest in upskilling our resources. We need to invest in making sure we have the right team and the team has the right training to adopt some of these new tools, some of the new trends that we are seeing in the market, right? But training comes with a lot of other aspects as well, because it also brings a lot of cultural changes, a lot of other avenues that we need to focus on, right? So what advice would you have to give to industry peers or leaders who are starting with their AI journey, especially in the creative or design focused functions?
Yeah, that's another good question. I'm going to start with the team, with the people, right? Make sure that they are well trained, they are well positioned to succeed. And there is this fear of AI is going to replace my job, right? And I think we need to make sure that we understand that someone who knows AI will definitely replace your job, right? So we need to make sure that we are, as employees, whether it is through the company or individuals, we are making sure that we are up to date in terms of what AI can bring to us. And kind of what Rebecca had said, we use it personally as well, not just professionally. We go, and you asked about upskilling the teams. Is that what your question was, JD?
Yep. Like if the question is how, if there's a new company who's starting on their AI journey, what are the advice that you would give to those industry peers?
Yeah, we go back to pick a use case or two based on your business objectives, right? And then set ROIs and KPIs. Make sure that you do understand what the key performance indicators are going to be, what's your return on the investment is going to be. The other thing is make sure you have clean data, garbage in, garbage out. And it's so imperative, especially with AI, because the garbage out of AI is very confident. It looks like it's real, right? So that's why we need to make sure that we have clean data, we have clear governance in place for that data. And start small and scale fast. Look for those low-hanging fruits so that you could either pivot as needed, or, to what Rebecca kind of said, celebrate the wins to kind of make sure that everybody is on board with these things. And as Director of Infrastructure, I'm going to say make sure your infrastructure is set and scalable, because also there's a lot of infrastructure setup and logistics that is needed for AI.
Absolutely. There are some good points that you brought up during this conversation, and I'd like to go back to three of them. The first one specifically you mentioned was the fear of AI, like AI is coming to take away our jobs in the market. Something that I've spoken in the previous sessions as well is every industrial revolution that has come up has brought this fear of the job replacement. Take it all the way back when we had the first industrial revolution, the industries were starting and the machines were coming in. There was a fear of a lot of manual job going away, right? Again, with the digital age, there was a huge fear that all this automation, all the digitization of the manual processes would take away a lot of jobs. Same thing happened with when internet revolution came, and same thing is happening when GenAI revolution is coming. Right. And what you rightly pointed out is upskilling is absolutely critical here, because it's not that each of these revolutions will take away the job, but it will just fundamentally change the job market. It will change the landscape, and you just need to adopt and upskill yourself according to the market. So that was a great call out. I really love another thing that you mentioned is garbage in, garbage out. It brings me to a point that AI is always confident, but probably may not always be accurate or correct. So that's something we need to be very careful about, right? Rebecca, if you'd like to add something to this before I go into the third point.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just quickly add that the A in AI does not stand for autonomous. It stands for artificial, and it has to be driven and by a human who is using it as a tool. And I agree that for the people who master the usage of AI as a tool, they're going to generate better outcomes faster. They're going to be competitive. And the people who are operating out of fear, are at risk of being left behind. So yes, it is not autonomous. It is human driven.
Absolutely. And that brings me to the third point that I wanted to deep dive into a little is for us to really enable our employees, for us to bring that cultural change, or for us to have them give them the capabilities of upskilling. We need the infrastructure. We need to have those necessary guardrails. We need to have the right infrastructure to make sure the data we have is clean enough for AI to consume and give the accurate results. We need the infrastructure to support and upgrade. So if you'd like to highlight something around that area, Tamara, around how we can enable the team through the infrastructure, what is it that we need to focus on?
Yeah, starting with data quality, right? Data quality consideration, data collection. So AI relies on making sure that it has diverse and clear data. The data pre-processing to make sure that our raw data is ingestible in the AI model, normalizing it, making sure again that it's clean, it's consistent, and structured well. The third one is data security and compliance, right? We need to make sure that as retailers, especially, right, that we are adhering to privacy regulations, we're adhering to PCI, SOX. If for instance, you're operating globally, the EU has AI Act now. So there's a lot of considerations when we are looking at quality of data. The other thing is a little bit what Rebecca had said, that there needs to be monitoring there. It's not autonomous, right? So we need to make sure that we are monitoring these models and monitoring them in real time to make sure that if there is anything that needs to be flagged, it's flagged right away and corrected. One thing that I have read several times is, when possible, try to use different AI tools to avoid a little bit of that also, either biased or inaccurate outputs. The other one also, when it comes to not necessarily infrastructure, but when it comes maybe to the trust, is transparency, because there's this black box that's called AI, and we don't necessarily know. So we either are afraid of it and afraid, to your point, that it's going to take our job, or we're going to embrace it and understand it. And I think that's where also a little bit of transparency and communication comes into play.
Absolutely. Rebecca, anything from you on this?
Tamara did a great job. Very thorough response, hitting lots of points. I'll add just a couple of highlights. Consider, of course, your hiring process, and consider, do you have the skills that you need today and in the future to drive your digital vision, which is driving your business? I would say the obvious: it takes time. It takes time to implement the infrastructure, to build the models. Be patient. This is a journey, and we're all on it. Models need to be validated. The models are no different than any process in your manufacturing floor or in your office space. Models have to be continuously updated and validated, and there always needs to be a review process. For any content, there's always a review and approval process, whether or not the content is generated with AI or not.
Right, whether it's manually generated or not. Absolutely, that you hit spot on. Before I go ahead with our conversation, I just wanted to go through some of the questions that the audience has been asking and pick your brains around the same, and then we'll continue with the rest of the conversation. But there are some interesting questions, especially from the audience. Can you share an example of how AI has influenced a creative design in your organization? So, like one of the key things they're looking for is, we've seen AI working in a lot of process-related activities, but is there any areas within the creative ecosystem that you've seen adoption of AI? And it's open to both the panelists.
Tamara, I don't know if you have something. I'm an engineer,
Yeah.
so I'm a little removed from space inside of P&G.
Sure. From the creative and creating the experience aspect of it, as we kind of mentioned, the starting from once we get the product into the warehouse to how it gets to the website, there's a lot of work there that is manual, that is repetitive, that is time consuming. So using prompt generated images, using prompt generated context, this is probably where the big win is when it comes to the experience, because then it gives the creative team plenty of other opportunities to kind of really shine and do their own creativity, as opposed to them just doing that repetitive work. That's kind of where I have seen it.
Absolutely, and I like to bring up one other example that I've seen in the industry itself. It's one of the retail apparel giants, and as part of the process, what they historically do is they create a customer persona, and based on the persona, they kind of create a style board on what would go well from a styling perspective, what matches with what jacket would match with what kind of clothing, what kind of shoes we need to add in this particular style guide, what kind of accessories do we need to add, right? A lot of it was manual historically, this entire process, but over the years with AI and GenAI, one of the key advantages that they have is the systems can smartly go through the customer data while building the customer persona, identify what the trends are, identify what really resonates with the customer, and support the stylist in building the right style guide with giving product recommendations. And of course, the decision still stays with the stylist when they're kind of finalizing the style board, but it kind of acts as the second fiddle, which helps them bring the right products in front of them so that they can make the decision which one really pairs well with them based on the customer data. So that's something which I've seen help the creative aspect within the ecosystem, right? Another question we have is, with Gen AI transforming customer journeys, how are you rethinking the in-store versus online experience? And are the consumers aware when they're interacting with the Gen AI driven feature versus an actual human? How have they responded so far with anything that we've adopted in this space? So this kind of hits the nail. Like a lot of times when we're talking about Gen AI and we're talking about the virtual world, how are we creating a lot of artifacts that are on the web, that are experiences on your devices? But at the same time, there are a lot of innovations we are seeing in the in-store as well. So something you'd like to add on that?
For the online, a lot of retailers are using the recommendations, right? And kind of tweaking and personalizing the recommendation based on customers' preferences, based on search history, based on clicks. So this is where it's a little bit of a seamless experience as a customer or a consumer and on the digital platform, right? And this is where AI is kind of helping me see a little bit more of what I am continuing to ask for. In terms of the in-store, that's an interesting question. How AI can help with in-store. I think, I don't know, Rebecca, do you have any?
I certainly have perspective as a consumer. I am a consumer of fashion, not just an engineer. And I love interactive tools because it builds brand loyalty. I love to provide feedback to design. I want customized, personalized suggestions for style, for makeup. And theoretically, what this does is it allows me to transact faster and buy more. And brick and mortar still has a place. I can quickly sort what I want, maybe on an online platform, then go to the store and touch and feel or interact personally with what I need. And I see, again, as we talked in the technology space, in the engineering space, in the design space, AI is augmenting the experience. It's enabling faster transactions and decision making, not replacing. It's building my loyalty to the brands.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd love to bring an example from one of the other industries that we've seen, and it resonates with what you mentioned, Rebecca, is with AI, the Omni experience can really be elevated. Like the journey, as you highlighted, Rebecca, starts with me looking at some things online, but I really don't want to make that purchase decision till unless I've had the touch and feel of that particular product, right? The data, however, has been captured of what you've seen online and what are the trends that you've identified. One of the things recently, and again with AI, within the fashion industry itself, we've seen Meta has recently partnered with Ray-Ban and Oakley, and we've built those glasses. One of the use case adoption that I've seen recently in the industry is our customer service representative who are on the floor in store. They have these specialized glasses available to them, and as the customer walks in and keys in some data, they can identify, based on the data they've entered, they identify the customer, and based on the customer identification, they can pick up the latest conversation they had or the journey they had online and say, hey, this customer is looking at ABC products. You might want to show him those products in store. So that can elevate the experience, because now you're walking in and the store agent already knows, once you've identified yourself, the store agent knows what your intent would be for this journey. So yeah, that's some of the ways I've seen AI innovating and giving the boost of online plus in-store experience, a combined experience between them, right? Thank you. Great questions from the audience, by the way. Thank you so much. Please keep up asking some of these questions. It really helps elevate the conversation we're having, and even we're enjoying what we're hearing, right? Okay, moving on to some of the questions we had earmarked for this conversation. We've kind of talked through some of the AI adoption that we've seen. We've talked through the challenges that we may have. We've talked through some of the cultural shifts and what are the enablers we need, right? So let's talk about ROI. Any and every initiative that we start strongly ties to what is the return on investment that we're getting from this initiative. As was mentioned earlier in the conversation, we need to go deep into certain initiatives that we feel like really resonates with our industry, right? So have you seen any measurable trends where you've seen ROI leveraging GenAI that may have surprised you? Rebecca, I'll probably start with you.
Happy to take that. I would first mention an example from my household and what has surprised me. GenAI is creating new vectors of consumer value that didn't exist before. I'm thinking of personalized technique, personalized performance, and appearance feedback. My son has the Carve ski boot inserts. And if you don't know what these are, they have motion sensors that provide instantaneous personalized skiing technique feedback. And the product uses motion AI backed by models that are trained on a massive data set mapped from patterns of world-class ski instructors. And this is a product offering. This is a stream of value that didn't exist before. So I would put that in the surprised me category. And of course, ROI use cases. I mentioned one earlier where our customer service teams are using GenAI to operate about 12% faster. And we've seen, speed of response significantly improved with these AI generated supports.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are some great things. Tamara, if you'd like to add something.
I'm going to go with what surprised me. And this is, again, another personal thing. What surprised me was seeing my 80-year-old mom use ChatGPT, go back and forth and getting questions and arguing with ChatGPT. And then, like any 80-year-old, asking the ChatGPT if they would like some home cooked meal, because she didn't necessarily understand that there is not a person behind this conversation that she's been having back and forth. So this was, it goes to, there's no limit to who can use the tools, which was really funny for me.
Absolutely, and the use cases are enormous. This is a really sweet example that you brought up. Um, but that and while it's interesting, that brings up another caveat here is with AI advancing so much, it's kind of blurring the lines between what is real and what is artificial, right? Which was what we've discussed earlier as well. So sometimes there becomes these challenges of trust on the AI. Like, am I talking to a real person on the other side, or is it an artificial intelligence that is kind of giving me the answers? There's also governance that we discussed elaboratively over the course of our conversation in the last 40 minutes. And there are ethical considerations where you mentioned that one of the biggest barriers to adoption is the non-transparency. And for us to really accelerate the adoption, transparency is critical, right? So when it comes to these ethical considerations, how is your organization approaching AI governance, particularly when it comes to oversight, privacy, and bias in visual outputs? If you'd like to highlight something of that, Tamara.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Human in the loop, right? There always needs to be a human checks and balances, be it for privacy, be it for bias, be it for accuracy. So just because it is AI-driven tool, AI-driven result, does not mean that the human is not accountable. And this is, I'm going to go a little bit back to the story of my mom, because like, okay, she thought there's a person there, so she held that person accountable, right? Which clearly there isn't. But then who is accountable? Is it me, the user? Is it the developer? Is it the person who is injecting the data? When we're talking about governance, I think accountability and ownership should be one of the first things that we talk about. The other thing is, as we're training the model, we're training it with diverse data. We're not ingesting our bias to begin with, right? Because we're unfortunately, we're seeing that in general when we're getting AI-driven results. Using different tools when we can, because also different tools are, even if we do change their climate, they're still kind of biased in ways of how they kind of interact. And you mentioned a little bit about brand recognition. It's very important that we also use brand guardrails. This is based on historical data, right? This is our brand. This is our message. This is our temperature, so that we can continue with that culture, with that brand. And the other thing is, we go back to the human and the monitoring. Make sure that we flag any deviation. We make sure that we retrain the model on a real-time basis. That's what I would probably suggest.
No, absolutely. We need that retraining. But you bring up a very interesting point, which I would want to focus a little on, is the training of our AI models needs to be based on diverse data set, right? It needs to be diverse enough so that there's no bias inherently involved into the decisioning, and we can have a justification of how the decisions are reached. But at the same time, there's also this conversation on who owns the data, right? So there's this big, in fact, that's one of the audience questions as well, which kind of prompted me to bring this one up. Is one of the biggest challenges we've seen recently is a lot of these AI models have been trained with a lot of data, and now the question of ownership has started coming in. That if the model is trained, and they've already gone through a certain set of books, how does the copyright come into picture? So what are the guardrails we're doing when it comes to generating images through AI versus the human creativity?
I would recommend an AI or a data governance committee, right? Where people from IT, from security, from legal, from marketing are there to kind of oversee the AI data usage. Because to your point, there is privacy, there is propriety and all that stuff. The other thing, as retailers, for instance, we need to make sure we're tagging the data, because is this product data? Is this transactional data where customer financial may be impacted? Is this PII data where can go under the Privacy Act. So this is very important that we are classifying and tagging the data as we're feeding it to the model. And the other thing, again, I'm going to say align with PCI, with SOX, with CCPA, which whatever regulatory regulations that we need to be aligning with.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was helpful. And great conversations around what we need to focus on from a guardrail perspective. I was going through the questions. We've covered most of them throughout our conversation. I really loved some of the audience questions, especially the in-store versus online question and the checklist. The audience is requesting the checklist that you shared, Tamara. So if you can share that, or probably Arvind, if you can kind of collate that and share it, the audience would really love to have that handy. I'd like to ask a futuristic question, right? So we started the conversation with Back to the Future. There was a trend that they had envisioned in the 80s of what 2010s would look like. We're not 100% there yet, but a lot of those trends were achieved. And it's always interesting to have a forward-looking approach, because we may not be 100% accurate, but it does drive the direction in which the industry goes, right? So with that said, where do you see the industry evolving with all that we have on our hands right now? Rebecca, I'll probably start with you. In the next 30 years, where do we see this industry growing? What are the trends you see happening?
In general, I foresee that GenAI tools are going to grow to be more multimodal, more of that. We're going to see more of that and become more prevalent. I expect a step change in the speed and volume of advertising content. Consumers are going to continue to demand even more personalized content and faster. As a consumer of fashion, what I see in the future are fashion sketches and CAD-ready designs that are flowing faster, if not instantaneously, from text or mood boards. As an engineer, I can envision seamless handoffs between prototyping to manufacturing. And as a consumer, because I love fashion and I'm a consumer there, I want to continue to provide real-time feedback to prototypes. I want to be a partner in the design process. And as we talked a little bit earlier, this builds my loyalty to the brand and potentially grows the space.
Absolutely. It kind of brings a sense of ownership, because you had contribution towards how the overall product was designed in that journey. Absolutely. Tamara, if you'd like to add something.
Yeah, to Rebecca's point, right, the interactive design process between the consumer and the designer I think is something that is totally doable. Something you mentioned, DJ, which is the AI styling assistant, right? Based on browsing and lifestyle history and cues, so that we would have our own personal shoppers with us, using AI, using the different body types and body shapes to kind of make sure that also what we're seeing with the virtual try-ons. Going back to the shoe of the Back to the Future, using foot scans, using size history, for instance, to recommend the best fitting shoe. That way, because Rebecca had said it, and 100% true, I don't want, like, when I want to buy a shoe, maybe I do look at it online, but I want to go and see how it fits. And this is where maybe AI can come in terms of using the gait, the size, would recommend a good fit, and would, from a business perspective, reduce return and then also increase customer satisfaction. So that's a little bit of a follow-up of what use cases that you guys have talked about.
Absolutely. Thank you for that vision. And yeah, probably in 30 years, we'll come back and see if the industry is really evolved in that direction, or there's something else. So this is the Back to the Future Part 7, I'm guessing. But hey, Thank you. Thank you for all your inputs, Rebecca. Thank you for all your inputs, Tamara. It was really a great conversation, and there were some great insights that we shared throughout the conversation. And would really like to thank all the audience for the wonderful questions that you brought throughout the session. It just made it really more interactive, and it brought some enhanced perspective to us throughout the conversation. Right. With that, I'll hand it over back to Nitin. Thank you, AI CoSpot, for organizing this and allowing us the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Jaydev, for moderating this session as well beautifully. And we would like to thank the partners and especially the eminent speakers for today, Tamara and Rebecca. You delivered exceptional session today, and we are grateful for your eagerness to collaborate and impart your knowledge to the wider audience. For everyone's information, I want to add that today's webinar was broadcasted live on LinkedIn Live. And for those who couldn't attend the session or want to review it later, the recording will be available on our company's YouTube channel. So we are excited about the upcoming events as well as we dive into this year. Our future events will cover a wide array of sectors, which includes banking, financial, insurance, telecom, consumer goods, retail, media, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, and a lot more industries. So keep in touch for ongoing education opportunities, and you get the maximum output out of these events. Stay updated on tech news by visiting our website and follow us on our social media channel. There you will find comprehensive information, notifications of our upcoming events, guidance on how to sign up. As your support is key, please engage with us and spread our content online. We extend our sincere appreciation for InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner for today's webinar, and Digit7, who is our technology partner as well. Visit infovision.com to explore more about the tech innovations which they are going through. It was a pleasure to present this session, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did as an spectator. We look forward to more engaging sessions in the near future. Take care, and here's a great day and week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.